This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, Sunday morning. Calling in right now as we have Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, and to give us what she feels is going on a Sunday morning. Well, Congresswoman Tenney, what do you think?
Well, great to be on, John. I think a big conversation when it comes to New York especially, and that I'm hearing from all my constituents, is the problem with energy. And the energy in the state of New York, we're in this budget battle. I used to serve in the state legislature, but we're now in Congress. And when you look at the future of where our country is going, energy is so critical. And having baseload power, which is not intermittent power, it's the kind of power that you get from nuclear energy, from natural gas, from oil, things that we know we can rely on that are going to be there regardless of what the weather is, regardless of interruptions. So unfortunately, upstate New York is experiencing a lot of intermittent outages. We have a lot of problems happening up here. You see huge amounts of money being taken in delivery fees, forced by the Public Service Commission. The utilities are forced to pick that money up from consumers. And they're hoarding that money and holding on to it, and consumers are paying the price. And you're seeing I've seen from 2 to 3 to 4 times the increase in delivery fees, which are resulting in huge bills for consumers. And that is small business owners, individuals, especially seniors, who are paying a lot for energy because of New York's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And yet New York City consumes most of the fossil fuels, and remember, under the CLCPA, there is a rule that requires that only a certain amount of fossil fuels can be used in our energy grid, and 95% of New York City's energy grid is consumed and using fossil fuels, and yet upstate New York only about 30%. So we have the nuclear power, we have hydropower from Niagara Falls. We have, fields of solar panels, which, by the way, are intermittent power. We have some windmills, but that it contributes very little to the energy grid. But we're the ones that are actually using emission-free power, and yet the emissions in New York City are higher, and the New York City is the one forcing these mandates and the higher costs onto New Yorkers. And I think you saw, a report last week that came out that said upstate New Yorkers are going to pay on average $4,000 more on their energy bills this year, and New York City residents are going to be paying $2,300 more. In either case, it's a terrible situation that is not going to get any better as we have a greater need for energy, especially as we try to get into advanced microchip manufacturing with Micron, with Global Foundries up in Albany. All these things require energy. AI requires energy. Data centers require energy. And just to run our homes and our businesses requires energy. And you've seen the governor back off on this. But the only solution that seems to come from Albany is let's give everybody a pay, $500, in the pocket. But that's not going to solve the problem. It's just going to cost the taxpayers even more and put us into even greater debt, which has been described by a lot of independent resources and sources, and some of them left-leaning, that we are in a catastrophic situation in New York when it comes to debt and unfunded mandates. The solution is smart energy policy. Stop what we're doing. Come up with reforms. I know my friends in the Senate and the Assembly are fighting hard to try to make this a reality, to get the Democrats to have common sense. They're not bending, but the governor needs to grow a spine and needs to stand up to these people in the legislature. And we need sensible energy policy, or you're going to see even more people leave New York. And you heard what she said this past week. She said, go away. We don't want you people. Go to Palm Beach, go to Florida, whatever. And now she wants them to come back and said, you now are obligated to come back to New York and bring your money with you. You know,
and help the migrants. I know, but see, the energy is a problem. Governor Pataki, I had dinner with him the week before. He says on his farm upstate, it must be near you someplace. He used to pay like $600-700 a month in electricity, and last month was $5,000. With me in my apartment in New York, it was $2,000. But energy costs. This windmills, it's not energy efficient. It's energy. It wastes energy, and it's ruining the environment in the Atlantic Ocean. It's a double negative.
Exactly.
Indian Point, we should never shut it down. Now they're looking at turning it back on again. New York State is short on energy. Albany. One more thing. Albany is pushing all electric buildings in New York City. We don't have the electricity.
Absolutely, and your electricity is coming from natural gas, which comes through a pipeline up the West Side Highway from New Jersey, because we are not using the amazing, wonderful gift that we have been given as New Yorkers to have this terrific Marcellus and Utica shale throughout the state of New York. We can use safe, responsible gas drilling. It will bring security. It will bring energy dominance. It will bring people back to New York. It will bring it will reduce emissions. Nothing has reduced emissions like natural gas has, and that is why New York City is still using 95% of its energy grid to be powered by natural gas. It is it's insanity, John. It's insanity, and we've got to get these people to wake up and stop talking about it.
Claudia Tenney, they've been making some stupid deals in Albany, and guess what? I talk to Paul Zuber all the time, and people are leaving New York. Businesses are leaving New York, and I don't think Governor Hochul would have said what she said this week about asking people to come back, but they're not coming back. What Governor Hochul has to do is to make sure that she makes good deals for businesses to stay in New York, and it's not going to be by paying $30 minimum wage. It's not going to be with those stupid windmills. And if we could bring Indian Point back or small modular reactors, that's an answer too. But Governor Hochul has to. She wants to get reelected. She has to do the right thing and make sure that the consumer has a good deal in New York City or New York State.
Exactly. We have to educate our voters. The Democrats are refusing to deal with reality, and they're refusing to educate their voters. Their voters need to know that their ridiculous energy goals are not achievable, and they're also not going to help New Yorkers, and they're going to cause more people to leave. I was just talking to a guy last week who has a problem. His energy bill for his restaurant was $9,000. He's going to close it, and he can't sell it because nobody wants to inherit that problem. And imagine how expensive his energy costs would be if he had to use his gas-powered stoves, high-level stoves that he produces great food, if he has to make those electric.
And not everybody
gets elected.
Maybe in New York City they can charge $85 for a steak, but they can't do it in every upstate New York. Well, Claudia Tenney, thank you so much for having common sense, and thank you for everything you do for our city, our state, and our country. You're one tough lady, and I love tough ladies. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Great to be on.